In Aiden's matches, he had 2 matches against the same opponent. And let's see what happens. So, starting off with some grip fighting standing. Trying to dig for an underhook on his left side. That's nice. Stripping grips. That was a good choice. Let's take a look at that again. So here he goes for a collar tie with his left arm. His opponent gets the inside collar tie, and then he switches. He decides, okay, not worth it. I'm going back to grip fighting. Not going to accept the inside collar tie. That was a good choice. Ooh, that's pretty close to getting taken down. I think I would have liked to see a sprawl there. Let's take a look at that again. Here's opponent shoots under without much of a setup. Because there wasn't much of a setup, you can see how he just kind of lifts his arms up a little bit here, whoop, and then ducks his head down and reaches with his arms as he's diving in. But because there wasn't a setup where he actually cleared his opponent's arms from the grip, now Aiden has his arms perfectly placed to defend. So he's got his arms low, he's able to catch whatever kind of grip he wants here. Now if he just wants to block the shot, the move would be take an underhook with this arm and a cross-face grip with this arm. And that would completely shut down the attack. Now that's not his only option. He can also opt, instead of cross-facing the head with this arm, he could wrap around the head and control the head that way. That would also be a totally valid way to take that. Sometimes you're not fast enough to get underhook with this arm, and you end up having to settle for a whizzer, and then have to defend with it that way. So that would be like the textbook way to block this shot, given that he had both arms to defend. And his partner kind of switches his head over to the other side as he jumps in for the shot. This is partially because Aiden stepped back, and Aiden was able to secure a headlock. And from here, Aiden gets kind of shaken around a little bit, and I think it would have been very possible if his partner had made some different choices that Aiden would have gotten taken down here. At this point, Aiden's main thing to do would be to try to force his opponent's hands to the ground, force it to a broken down headlock position, and then he can mount his attack from there. But because he's trying to, I think he's trying to finish the guillotine from standing. There's good balance. He stayed standing. He's trying to finish the guillotine from standing, and because of that, he's getting greedy with his posture and making some errors that if his opponent capitalized on, he would have gotten a takedown over. It ends up working out in his favor anyway. They come to the ground. He rolls through and gets top position, as his opponent was a bit hesitant to use his hands for building up his base because he was defending the threat of the choke. Okay, that's really nice. Let's take a look at that. Let's go back up here. So this is a scramble position. His opponent turns away. Aiden wisely runs around to the back to get some back control. And from this position here, because Aiden doesn't have any control over the legs with his legs, he's just got his hips over his partner's hips, he's got to be really careful about not getting too high because he can easily get rolled over, which he doesn't make that mistake, but just mentioning that there. From here, Aiden's main priority would be to break his opponent down to a hip, and then to get control of his hips with his legs. But here his opponent rolls over to his side and sort of does the job of getting broken down for Aiden, and then tries to turn towards him, which is not a bad idea, but as he turns towards him, he's not very disciplined with his hands, and Aiden's able to bring his leg up high and beat this arm and lock up a trap triangle, which is really nice. Here he's trying to finish the armbar. You can definitely finish the armbar from here, but it's kind of hard with this leg under the head, this leg which could be the crossface leg, so he can either bring that over for the armbar or he sits up for the triangle and gets an awesome mounted triangle finish. That's a really great combo here. So he moves his feet out of the way. Previously his feet over here were blocking him from sitting up, so he's got to move his feet this way so that his head can come over his partner as he climbs up. Nice. Now from here, he was able to get the tap from this position. Sometimes when you get into this position, you don't have enough pressure to get the tap, and the way to increase the pressure is to go perpendicular to your partner. So right now, his partner's spine is lined up with his spine. They're both sort of in the same line. And what he would do is bring his head away from his feet. So his feet are facing away from the camera. So he would bring his head towards the camera so that he's perpendicular to his partner's spine, and that could allow him to put a lot more pressure on the triangle. It would also make it easier then to use his body position to transition to an armbar if ever the triangle wasn't strong enough, but it certainly was. He gets the tap. Good work, Aiden. Really nice moves. You won some scrambles. You got an awesome submission. I'd like to see you work on that headlock discipline of bringing your partner down and attacking more systematically and less opportunistically. Nice. Let's see. You got a second match too. Second match with the same opponent. Let's see what happens here. Okay, really cool. Quick takedown from his opponent. Let's take a look at what happens here. So the opponent goes for an arm drag single leg. This is much better than what he did last round. Last round, he didn't do any setup and attacked the legs right away. Here, he attacks the arm with an arm drag. He's going to bring that arm across, which takes away Aiden's defense on his right side, which means his right leg is now vulnerable. And so what he does is he peels the arm away, and now that the arm is out of the way, this leg is not defended. So he reaches back, grabs the knee, and then moves forward to try to get the knee. This is a bit of sloppy footwork, but Aiden's doing a good job of resisting here, trying to push him back. Just like we saw in the double leg in the previous match, one way to really undo this threat would be to transition this arm into an underhook. And that would make it so much harder for his opponent to connect to that leg. So instead, he's going for the head. He had some success with that in the first match, so I think he's going for the head again. But it's might be a better decision to free your leg and then attack the head versus attacking the head while your leg is still pinned, because now you're out of balance and you're falling down to the ground. Now, it's a risk. It's not necessarily a wrong decision, but it's a risky decision because you might get a payoff of getting a submission. You might successfully finish the guillotine, for instance. But if you don't successfully finish the guillotine, you get taken down, you're down by 2 points, and you're fighting from the bottom with maybe a partial guard pass, which is kind of where we end up here. He gets taken down. His opponent could capitalize on this a lot more for a guard pass, but I think Aiden, it recovers a very usable guard very quickly. So he's down by 2 now, fighting from the bottom. That's a nice off balance. Okay, something that an option for attacking that I thought Aiden was going for here looked like it is I thought he was going to attack this arm. Now it looks like the elbow is not available at first, but then he gets it back in a bit. I think the move here would be to now switch to grabbing the head with the left arm and grabbing the leg with the right arm. That would allow him to go perpendicular to his partner. Now the disadvantage that he might lose that arm as his partner's fearful of the arm bar, so he might slip his right arm out. But if he does slip his right arm out too early, then you've got a triangle because he just put one arm out of the triangle threat. And if he doesn't, then once you've changed your body, you've brought your head towards his feet, now it's going to be easier to set up that arm bar or to set up a pendulum sweep over in this direction. But that's just one mode of attack. That's not necessarily the only one. Aiden here instead is threatening a kind of guillotine, and he gets a very lazy hip bump sweep. That's a good move on his part. That's a mistake on his opponent's part here. His opponent, I guess, is just worried about his neck, and he's got a pretty bad base on this side. This leg should not be straightened out like that. It should be bent in so that his knee has some point here. He could even lift his hips up and tripod in order to try to then use his hands to grip fight around his neck and free his neck out. So his opponent makes the mistake of not having a good base in that direction. Aiden capitalizes on it. There's a possibility, after having done that sweep, of finishing the guillotine because you already had the head wrapped up, Aiden, with your right arm. But I can't tell how deep it was, so maybe it was a wise decision to let go of it. Okay, well, when you're in the mount, you want to have an underhook. A mount without an underhook is a mount that's no longer being controlled. So here, his opponent has both of his arm frames used on Aiden's hips or legs. Now, I think Aiden's doing a great job of riding this out and not losing balance, but strategically, this is a mistake to not have control of the shoulders via an underhook. Okay, yeah, isolating an arm for an Americana, not a bad strategy. One of the nice things that does is often it encourages, and you kind of see it here, it encourages your partner to start fighting with their other arm a little bit. So as Aiden starts to attack his opponent's left arm, his opponent's right arm is drifting over the center line to try to help and defend it. So you can set up a 1-2 attack here. As you're attacking the Americana, your partner pushes the other arm across the center line. Now you use your body to block that arm down and then reach around and grab that wrist for a gift wrap, which can help you set up a mounted triangle, an arm bar, or a back take, whatever you want from there. So I'd like to see you sort of toggle between those two instead of being too focused on one arm. However, that did give you the underhook that you needed to control the mount. Now, double underhooks, this is a really dominant position. I would have liked to see you settle weight down there, Aiden, and control that more solidly. Now Aiden's opponent has got his frames back in play. Both of his arms are starting to get used to create some space. Aiden's still going for that Americana. And again, there's an opportunity to transition off to the gift wrap to expose the back a little bit more. Not a bad idea to control the head, but you need to have an underhook as well. Another thought that might be worth exploring is the difference between right side attacks and left side attacks. It seems, Aiden, like you're really into attacking the left side Americana, but here your opponent is, the ref's in the way a little bit, but your opponent is turned on to their left, so you're right side. And here it seems like you're not attacking the Americana on that side. Now that doesn't mean that you have to always have equal attacks on your right and your left, but this might be a sort of a point in your game that you can expand on and grow on. Is maybe you're used to attacking things only on one side and you're leaving some low-hanging fruit available on the other side. You could try the exact same strategy on this side now, pin the wrist down, threaten the Americana as your opponent defends by turning to their left, then you block their right arm under your body and switch it off to a gift wrap, attacking the back or an arm bar or whatever you want to do from there. So yeah, just good job staying on top here and tiring your opponent out. This is a bit of a, so they successfully did a bridge or a kip or something here to, yeah, a bridge, and then a little bit of a leg movement to get that knee on the inside. Now they should capitalize on that and continue their escape. But I can't see from the angle here, maybe Aiden has collected an underhook and that's what's allowed him to dominate the upper body. Oh no, he's on another head attack, like a guillotine or a head and arm headlock there. Okay, back to a regular crossface mount. So your priority at this point as the top player is to solidify control, get an underhook, and then once you have an underhook, to isolate that underhook so the elbow goes above the shoulder line. What happened here is the bottom player had both arms to use to frame, and because of that was able to hit a bridge, create some space, and then use the frames to keep that space open long enough to try to get his knees in. Now, instead of getting his knees in and reclaiming his guard, Aiden lost balance and went over to his right side. What Aiden should have done at that point, given that he didn't have an underhook, was just be ready to post out with his right arm to not fall over. And at this point, his opponent's getting up. Now, because this was from the mount, this reversal of positions will not be a 2-point sweep because the sweep has to be from the guard. So this just counts as an escape. So strategically, Aiden now can just go to attacking from his guard. So the move would have been to pull his opponent in so that he can keep attacking from his closed guard, which he seemed to be doing pretty well from before. They're going to reset in the center. So at this point, I think Aiden's up 4-2 if I'm not mistaken. Now, when you're playing seated guard, you've got one of two options. You've got the option of pulling back into your guard or wrestling up. That's a very simple way to think about it, but it's kind of nice to think about things simply. Either way, you don't want your shoulders to be behind your hips. Here, Aiden's shoulders are just above his hips, maybe a little bit behind, and as he moves around, he's got his shoulders a little bit behind his hips. I would like to see his shoulders a little bit more forward. By having your shoulders a little bit more forward in front of your hips, that allows you to not have your abs on real hard and also allows your arms to come forward a little bit more, which gives you either the option of connecting your hands to your partner's hands or ankles with a meaningful connection that you can then lie back on your back or onto your side and play your guard from, or it allows you to get your feet or legs underneath you more easily and stand up in order to hit a wrestle up. So that's a change in posture I wouldn't mind seeing. That could help to get more options here. Now, because Aiden's deciding to stand up, it seems like a wasted opportunity to just stand up without having taken a dominant grip. So because when you're on the ground, your opponent's really close to you, you have an opportunity to grab an ankle or get a meaningful connection on the wrist. Aiden tries to get a collar tie here and then stand up with that, but I would have liked to see just like standing up with a single leg, for instance, grabbing behind the knee or grabbing the ankle and standing up with an ankle pick. But that's fine. They stand up, reset. Some grip fighting. It's good freeing his head. Aiden was looking a little bit tired now. It might have been a long time of holding down in the mount. His opponent's probably tired too, but I think he's behind on points, so he feels more impetus to move. Okay, let's take a look at that. This here, his opponent made a mistake in finishing the throw, but if Aiden hadn't, if his opponent hadn't made this mistake, Aiden would have had this would have been a big takedown on you. So the first thing that his opponent did well was catch an underhook. Underhooks are typically better than overhooks. The overhooks, sometimes called the whizzer, are still very useful tools, but generally underhooks are somewhat superior. Now it depends on the positioning and the head position and how high your elbow is and all kinds of other stuff, but for now, just consider that. So his opponent gets the underhook and then walks in and catches this inside hook for an uchimata. And now what his opponent should do is get a better connection with Aiden's shoulders, bring both of their shoulders down, and then bring this leg up. Instead, he just hops forward and he doesn't bring his shoulders down that much. And as he brings his shoulders down, he's not connected to Aiden at all. So Aiden's doing a good job of pushing the head down here and not letting him stay connected to him. But if he had done a better job of staying connected to Aiden's shoulders, brought his shoulders down as he lifted his leg up, that would have been a pretty good uchimata takedown. Now that could have been defended by not letting him get the underhook, or when he started to jump in for this, to kick the leg back and then put your leg in front of their leg. So do a little like kind of leg pummeling, or dropping your hips lower than your partner's hips and pushing your hips forward and low. That could also sort of shut this down. But it's a harder thing to do when your opponent has an underhook. So not bad that he pushed down the head and didn't end up getting taken down. His opponent at this point, I mean, especially where I paused it, seems like he could have changed directions and just driven forward for a kind of knee tap and gotten an easy takedown there. But they fall over because there's a lot of momentum turning them that way. And it's a bit of a scramble. In that moment of scramble here, I would have liked to see Aiden heist this leg, take it out so he can go knees on the floor, chest on the back, and then start attacking the front headlock from the top. Right here, there's a really good opportunity to slip that leg back and keep attacking from the top. And then also, IBJJF rules are as long as there's a threat of a submission, points don't get scored. So here, this arm is preventing his opponent from making 2 points, whether it's you count from the takedown or from the sweep. This is what's preventing the 2 points from happening. So from a points point of view, Aiden should keep this grip, even though it's not a very useful grip for grappling, but just for the points, and then heist his leg to get out from the bottom so that he's not playing bottom, and then get up. And then if he wants to play guard, then make his grips and sit down so he plays guard on his own terms and his opponent doesn't score 2 points. But because that ends up happening, his opponent scores 2 points. Oh my gosh, I think he just got kneed in the face. Oh my gosh, Aiden, that's so horrible. I'm so sorry. That's not, that's an illegal move. That's not supposed to happen. Okay. Aiden seems unfazed by it though. Maybe I misread it. Maybe there wasn't that much impact, but it really did look like he got kneed in the face. Okay, so his opponent does a flying knee, and then Aiden does a good job of catching his ankle with his left arm here. You can see it there. That grip would be better a little bit lower. In general, grabbing lower by the ankle is better than grabbing higher. If you grab low by the ankle, it's harder for your partner to step back. However, if you grab low by the ankle, it's easier for them to place their knee down far. So This is a tendency or a guideline that comes with a caveat. So grabbing lower grabs longer down the lever and gives you more mechanical advantage. But you also have to consider where your partner can move their knees. And for instance, in the takedown called the knee tap, you definitely want to grab at the knee and not at the ankle, because that's what really allows you to take your partner's knee away from the ground. But here, a bit of a sloppy sweep, but we'll take it. His opponent threatens a triangle. Here, a triangle with an off balance. This shouldn't happen. This is a mistake here. So when we get to this point, right here, this is where Aiden has to be more disciplined with his elbows, and as that leg comes through, then this arm has to pummel, the hand has to pummel to the inside, which is easier said than done because his opponent has control of his wrist here. So this is a very nice setup for the triangle. Right here, he sees it happening. This, a couple options. I mean, you can try to pummel this arm in. You can try to use the other arm and cross block this hamstring. So his right arm could come across here. He could also really lean back a lot and posture up. He's on the top of his feet now, which gives him less option to stand up. If his toes were tucked under, he could have the option of stepping up on one side very quickly to gain more height, and that height would allow him to stay free of the triangle. Here he gets pulled in. I don't know if he dives in or gets pulled in, but this I don't know if this is a strategy to not get triangled, but I recommend posture and posting rather than spearheading the mat with your head. And then here, this posture of sitting down, I think at this point Aiden's really tired based on the decisions he's making. But sitting down here in someone's guard is just inviting them to sweep up and get 2 points. And his opponent's going to take that. And Aiden just rolls out of it. Okay, a very strange scramble. I don't know, maybe he's pissed because he got kneed in the face, but I think the match is almost over. There's another Uchimata attempt. Aiden grabs the single leg. Yeah, just a little bit of grip fighting going back and forth. All right, that was another opportunity for a sprawl here. We see his opponent level change and grab the legs. And here, Aiden would want to get his knees behind his hips. So now his hips are behind his knees, and that's what makes it easy to get folded over one way or just bowled backwards. And so what he'd want to do is send his knees behind his hips and put pressure down on his partner. He's trying to dig what looks like an underhook here. I think in general, maybe advice for takedowns that I have for Aiden is focus less on trapping the head and going for a headlock or guillotine, and focus more on snagging underhooks and freeing your legs as a first movement, and then after that attacking the head. Because here, trying to hold the head too much led to a spin out and then you're not having your knees in a good spot. If this had been in bounds, this would have been another 2 points for his opponent for a successful takedown. Okay, his opponent does a big guard pull. I think maybe he was hoping to catch an armbar here. In general, folks, I don't recommend jumping guard because just for safety reasons. I mean, there's a higher chance of you hurting yourself or your partner when you jump guard because your weight is uncontrolled. And when your weight is up in the air and uncontrolled, it can either land on your partner in a way that hurts them, or you can land on yourself in a way that hurts you. Now, I'm not saying that this hurt this person, but that probably wasn't a very fun impact, just falling on your back like that. So I'd recommend choosing different techniques. Don't jump guard. And Aiden snags his very easy mount from the top. Not enough time to score points on it, I think, but a nice way to finish with some strength. Finish in a good position. Great match, Aiden. Did some awesome things. It looks like you gassed out in that second one. I'm sorry about the knee to the face, but great work and a couple things to work on. But overall, excellent work, excellent matches. Looking forward to training with you in the gym soon.